how do we know if we're actually getting good dating advice? We really never know what kind of bias people bring to the table. Thank you so much for joining us again on Second Act TV. Welcoming back Treva Brandon Scharf, the dating coach, relationship expert, and the author of Done Being Single. Treva, thank you so much for joining us again.
Thank you for having me. As always, love being here.
Well, I'm really looking forward to our conversation today. How do we know if we're actually getting good dating advice? And where we're going here is that we really never know what kind of bias people bring to the table who are actually giving you advice. I mean, and that includes us. We have biases.
I preface everything, even the shows that we do with like, hey man, whatever resonates, take what you like, leave the rest.
Right, exactly. And what drew my attention or my interest, I should say, to this particular article is this post, that she came across, and it was just somebody in the group posted, a guy I met online sent me roses for Valentine's Day. She posted, I guess, a picture of the roses and said, "We have a date scheduled for this weekend. Ladies, there are good guys out there." Well, lo and behold,
Yeah.
everybody came in, commented just negative. Oh, he's a narcissist. You're being love bombed. Ted Bundy. Well, he gave roses. Well, they'll be on your grave, on and on and on and on. And then it's these women, and that's where the author, I suppose, cued in on the next bit of advice that came out of this group, which is, what is the best dating advice you ever got?
What makes it so toxic for the writer who's reporting on this group is that it's this group think that's really negative. And it's all the advice that these women are giving is through the lens of their own heartache and disappointment. It's really like a circular firing squad where nothing gets accomplished and everybody's bitching, and it's really toxic and horrible. But this is what she's saying. And then so the point was, who can you believe? Whose advice can you believe? Is it coming through the lens of someone who's been terribly hurt and heartbroken, right? Is it confirmation bias? Is it already like confirming, men are shit, of course, as usual.
Well, let's look at what some of the stuff that came out of this. So here's: choose yourself first, second, and third.
This smacks of that kind of narcissistic, pseudo self-empowerment Instagram crap that millennials love to parrot, which makes me gag. And I don't know anybody over 50 who would ever take that seriously. It's so self-indulgent. Put yourself first, second, third. No, then you shouldn't be dating. If it's all about you, right? If it's all about like, me, I come first, second, third. Who wants to date you, let alone know you?
Yeah. And I have seen that. And that's the other point she makes, that these are all like memes. I mean, this is not even an original thought. This is something we've seen this before.
Yes,
and it's a very straight line thinking. There's no critical thinking here. Who wants to be fourth place, essentially, is what she's asking here. Oh yeah, let me date you. I want to be in fourth place. It's terrible advice. It's a give and take. Yes. Anyway, that's our opinion. That's the bias we're bringing.
It reminds me of, I call it participation award mentality. It's that sort of thing that younger people now espouse because they were brought up, right, raised to believe that they were super special and the greatest things ever, and you need to be first and second and third, not just first. You've got to get awards and medals for everything. No, you don't.
Yeah, putting yourself first, okay, maybe. I mean, I even have trouble with that. I'm not saying that's right, but I wasn't raised that way. You always put everybody else first. And again, I'm not saying that's what you should do. But second and third, no. no, that's just bad advice. You're just being selfish.
Yes.
This one here is interesting. When people show you who they are, believe them the first time. I think that's even attributed
Yes.
to Maya Angelou.
Yes, I've heard it a million times. And in a lot of ways it is true, right? Here's my problem with that advice as it pertains to dating is
Mm-hmm.
that we're all on our best behavior in the
Mm-hmm.
beginning. Who knows
Exactly.
anybody in the
Yeah.
beginning? Nobody. You don't know anybody. And so we're all putting our best face forward as we should. Okay, so believe if someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. No, I would, a little caveat to that is when someone shows you who they are the second or the
Mm-hmm.
third
Third.
or the fourth time,
Yeah.
okay, then you can believe them
Right.
because
You
then
have a
it's
pattern that you
there's
can
a
judge
pattern.
now.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you're judging way too quickly. And, my advice to that is, okay, people mess up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's got to be room for acceptance and
Yeah.
growth and change because we're all going to change at some point. Nobody is static.
I think the way this was used here, it can almost always be just look for the red flags immediately. And while we do a lot on red flags, but it's more don't miss the red flags. Don't be like on the lookout because all you're doing is expecting the worst. It'd be interesting to hear what our audience has to say about this.
Yeah, I get where it comes from. And yes, there are a lot of things people do in the beginning that will raise an eyebrow or
Mm-hmm.
raise a red flag. But for God's sakes, that's where forgiveness and, my big three, acceptance, forgiveness, and grace. Otherwise, we're going to be swiping left and counting people out and kicking people to the curb and you won't be able to develop anything. But like I said, watch, observe. If they keep
Yeah.
doing it, if it's the second and the third and the fourth time, oh yes, then believe them.
Okay, here's another good one. Date yourself. Yeah, okay, date somebody that shares your lifestyle, but who wants to date yourself? I mean, what do they even mean by that?
I read that as something kind of more positive because when you're single, to
Mm-hmm.
me, why wait? Why wait for a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a relationship to treat yourself nicely or to buy yourself the flowers or the nice things or to go on the trips? Why should you have to wait? Date yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to be single, that's how I read that. I may be
And
wrong.
yeah, and you know what's super interesting just about that? This is an example of me or us bringing bias to the table, right or wrong,
Right.
because I interpret it differently, and I think the author did too, because it's like date somebody just like you, that.
Oh, see, I didn't care.
Yeah,
I didn't get that.
yeah, that's it. I did think about exactly what you said at first, and then I read deeper into this, and she literally says here, "Sorry, narcissist, but you're not that special." Date
Oh,
yourself if you want to just look in the mirror the whole time. So that might show some bias on her part. That because
okay.
what you just said is lovely. Yeah, don't if you're single, date yourself. Why
Date
not? Yeah,
yourself. That's what I read. But you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, that's where she was going. Like, what fun is it dating someone just like you? Date yourself. Okay. Yeah, it does help. Common things do help, but I wouldn't want to date someone totally like me. I mean,
no,
it
that
would
no.
boring.
Exactly. And I love the way this came about, because that again, that is where we project our own thinking, our own
Yes.
values, our own emotions onto what other people. And this was just a perfect example of that. So I'm
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
glad that happened. Here's another one. Make sure he loves you more than you love him.
Oh my God.
Why?
That's
Yeah.
so
Wow.
okay. To be honest, I think I heard that from my mother. I think that's that. It feels like familiar. I've heard that in some way, variation. If you have to keep a scorecard,
Mm-hmm.
that's a loser move. And to do something like that is either super needy or super narcissistic. These are all little memes I feel like I've seen on Instagram or
You
at least
have, you
like on
have that.
someone's
That's
or
yeah.
on
That's what
someone's
she meant.
refrigerator magnet. It's so self-indulgent. It's so I can't take it. It's me, me, me. I'm first. I'm the best. worship me, I come first at all times. That is, you need to love me more than I love. It's all comes back to the same nauseating
Right.
premise.
Right. And and she makes this point here too. Lasting love, it's give and take. Sometimes you're going to maybe love more than. I mean, it's fluid. It's not. And how do you even measure that? How do you measure who loves more? It's a ridiculous
Yeah,
premise.
there are going to be moments where you love someone less and they love you more, or you love them more. I mean, my God,
Mhm.
that's just the rhythm of life, right? Not all in service to you. And that's what I feel like modern dating advice does. It kind of poisons the well. It makes us feel like, wow, I should be more narcissistic. I should be more self-centered. What's wrong with me? Why am I not enough of an egomaniac?
She makes a point here too that this is why the five love languages is so important when it comes to not loving more or less, but how you love, or
Yes.
knowing what you want or what the other person does. That's what you need to be concentrating on.
The key is fluidity, being fluid and flexible. It's hard enough. I say this all the time. Why are we making things harder for ourselves? All of these things feel very like putting up obstacles and finding
Mm-hmm.
fault and doing stuff that normally that, we didn't used to do pre-dating apps, but pre-dating apps, I think, have made us all so self-centered,
Mm-hmm.
so self-important, right? And we're told all the time, this dating advice we hear, no, it's more, you need to be more self involved and more self-important. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't agree with that at
Right.
all.
This, yeah, lots of bad advice. And it is based on, I think, on people who have been hurt so many times, have been jaded. There's a pool of women that feel like that. There's a pool of men that feel like that, the opposite way. And yeah, we've all been hurt. But when you get into that pool and okay, so you're not alone and you make each other feel better, but you don't want to propagate this kind of negativity. Now, here's another one that comes off as initially as good advice. Maybe it is. Again, it comes down to interpretation. Date them based on who they are, not who they could be. Now, the author here brings an interesting perspective.
Okay, so there's good and bad in this because on one hand, acceptance, okay,
Mm-hmm.
date someone for who they are, not date someone for who they are right in this moment, okay, not
Mm-hmm.
their future self. There's something
Mm-hmm.
important about that. It
Mm-hmm.
is it's the greatest favor you'll ever do for yourself and the person you're dating is to be accepting. But with that said, leave room for growth and
Mm-hmm.
change because
Mm-hmm.
you're going to grow and change, and you kind of have to go with the flow. I wouldn't date a project.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't, you know what I mean? Don't make
Yes.
someone a project. And this is an interesting topic because Robbie and I were talking about this before we got online, and he said, don't date someone that you want to change.
Right.
And it got me thinking about, did I do that? And I did do that. You know how I did that? I dated people whose minds I wanted to change. I liked the guys I was dating.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mostly everything about them. What I wanted to do was change their mind about
Mm-hmm.
commitment. Okay. And that was me kind of hopeful, wishful thinking. Are you going to eventually be available? Are you eventually going to be able to commit? And so that's a tough one because it's yet to be seen, right? You want at least, date someone for who they are now. At least if
Mm-hmm.
they say, you know what, I'm on their profile, if they say, I want a long-term relationship or I'm looking for marriage, okay, you got that going for you, right? At
Mm-hmm.
least you kind of know, right? We've got a shared vision
Mm-hmm.
of the future. We have a shared idea of commitment, and that's a good sign. Okay, at least we're off to a good start there. But you can't count on that because you don't know. Maybe 3, 4, 6, whatever months in, they reveal to you, I'm not really available, and I don't really want to. I don't want a commitment right now. And so, we take that chance.
Mm-hmm.
You date them for who they are right now, and you go
Yeah.
like this, a little like this, right? And I hope they can go the
Yeah.
distance.
So apparently these points got a lot of, thumbs up and likes and, replies and that sort of thing. She ends, this is interesting too. There was actually some good advice, as she said in there. And this one is: true love is about being compatible while respecting yourself and each other. Now, she thought that was terrific advice, and it didn't get one thumbs up from this group.
True love. Repeat it again.
True love is about being compatible while respecting yourself and each other.
Yes, I would say that is true. That is sort of taking all of the aforementioned points we just talked about and putting a positive spin on it, and not holding it against someone, or not you have to make your partner first, second, and third sometimes, right? So all of these things you have to take into account their differences and where you are not compatible, to make it compatible. The biggest things are, to me, and I say it all the time, that the sign of the most compatibility, the thing that I think gives it as the most staying power, is having a shared vision of the future. Because no amount of like shared interests or hobbies or same taste in music or same taste in movies is going to get you to where you need to go if you guys aren't on the same page and the same road. So that, to me, is true love, is acceptance and being okay with someone's imperfections and actually loving them for being imperfect.
And the older you get, the more you realize that's also really a part of it. I'm learning that more and more as we age here in our retirement community. If you're not on the same page, it's difficult. So again, she sums it up here. The advice is was primarily very ego driven. That you've hammered that home, is that it's me, and that's never good advice. What would you add on this topic, Treva? Anything else come to mind that we want to leave here?
My other piece of advice I can give viewers is to keep tuning in, because this is, you get great people on. I trust them. You guys should trust them. They know their shit. They are, they've walked the walk. I know I have. And yeah, man, just keep watching this show. Stay in this space. That's some good advice right there.
No, that's it. We really do. And I'll end on this, but I, as the producer of this show, really do try to make it fair and balanced and not bring negativity or give advice from some sort of a negative place. We have to address the negativity because it's out there. We also understand it, where it came from, but my goodness, you can't get stuck there. And on that note,
well, and just as an aside, because this just reminded me of something. I have a new doctor now, a new GP, and I think she's 12 years old. I swear, she's so young. At times, I feel like there's no way she can understand me. She's probably looking at me, and I said to her last time, I go, you probably think I'm nuts. But a doctor my age would go, oh, no, you are normal. This is fine. I know how you feel. I was there. You want to hear that. You trust that, right?
Yeah.
Someone who has walked in your shoes.
Who's walked in your shoes.
Been in the trenches.
I agree. Yeah.
Right. So that kind of reminds me of this in terms of consider the source of the advice, take into account all of their lived experience, and then and pick and choose what you like, what part of this is resonant to you, and then trust that and go with that.
Exactly. What resonates with you, and ultimately your gut will tell you what's right for you. So what would absolutely be right for you is to pick up Treva's book.
Oh yes, there's some good advice right in there.
And such a fun read. And if you want to talk to Treva some more, if you need some coaching, give Treva a call. We have the links in the video description and the video notes below. And Treva, I look so forward to another conversation soon on Second Act TV.
Thank you so much.